Thank you for joining us for CNTV. I'm Brad Clonch.
And I'm Quin Tran.
The Chickasaw Nation and the state of Oklahoma are partnering on a tourism project.
That project involves developing a resort hotel and other amenities at Lake Texoma. Lake Texoma is in southeastern Oklahoma. Governor Bill Ahtone says the project will help transform this area into a major tourism and recreation attraction. This tourism initiative will create new jobs and revenue for southern Oklahoma. The project covers 50 acres of lakefront property overlooking Lake Texoma and the historic Roosevelt Bridge. The initial plans call for the tribe to construct a 3-story hotel, a restaurant, casino, and gift shop. The plans also include lakefront fishing and boating cottages.
The Chickasaw Nation considers water a vital natural resource. The Chickasaw Nation and the Environmental Protection Agency recently signed a tribal environmental plan. The plan lists 5 areas the Chickasaw Nation will be monitoring. Those areas include safe drinking water, clean water, ambient air control, toxic substance control, and additional water studies of streams, lakes, and ponds to ensure safety and quality control.
This next story takes us to Tupelo, Mississippi, the historic homeland of the Chickasaw people. Citizens traveled there for the inaugural Chickasaw Celebration. Through the event, the Chickasaw Foundation shared the cultural importance of the tribe's heritage and encouraged preservation and protection of cultural sites.
The city of Tupelo and those in the surrounding areas, it was a chance for the Chickasaw citizens and employees to get to highlight our Chickasaw history and culture to a broader scope of people. We had 1,250 4th grade students from the local Tupelo public school systems that came to the event that day that we served. And it was really neat to get to watch the citizens, talk about their pine needle baskets or to teach how to make corn husk dolls to all of these 4th grade students. They were so engaged in the activities that were going on, and you just heard kids and teachers and people walking around saying how excited they were that we came and that we would want to share our history and culture with them. I think another thing that made the event so special was that we had a signing ceremony between the city of Tupelo, the Chickasaw and Quin Foundation, the Chickasaw Nation, and the National Park Service, showing the collaboration between those 4 entities on the partnership for the Chickasaw Heritage Center that's going to be built in Tupelo, Mississippi.
At East Central University, this was the annual Chickasaw Appreciation Day. Governor Bill Ahtone helped kick off the football weekend. Fans came to cheer on ECU against Southern Arkansas. The ECU Athletic Department hosted Chickasaw Appreciation Day to thank the Chickasaw Nation, tribal citizens, and employees for supporting the university. The Chickasaw Princesses attended the event, and youth involved in the Chickasaw Nation's martial arts program were on hand to demonstrate their skills.
Now to the University of Oklahoma campus. This unique exhibit is showing at the Fred Jones Jr. Museum of Art. Picturing Indian Territory, 1819 to 1907, is a visual history of Indian Territory. It's the first scholarly look of the work of artists, illustrators, and journalists of that time period, and their interpretation of Indian Territory.
There is not a history anywhere like that of Oklahoma. Whether it is the creation of Indian Territory or the unusual creation of Oklahoma Territory, the fact that this culture of Oklahoma is so diverse in terms of the native peoples, the immigrants that settled here, this is really a very, very special place.
The exhibit on display through December features items from the Smithsonian and other local museums and private collections. It took about a decade for curators to research and gather the images for that exhibit.
The work of a curator takes a lot of time, care, and thought. A Chickasaw curator shares how she brings cultural heritage to life.
If one didn't see the native subject matter of this, you can really see across here that he's playing with some of the ideas of like 1970s abstraction and geometry.
At the Fred Jones Jr. Museum of Art, Heather Ahtone is an associate curator of Native American and non-Western art.
This means that I curate our very rich Native American art collection, which is largely a contemporary collection.
The collection on this day includes an exhibit that features the work of Native artists, expressing a traditional dance.
In this particular gallery, this theme is really just on the San Ildefonso Pueblo buffalo dance or deer dance. Each of the artists has chosen a particular way of expressing their experience with that dance. Sometimes you see a single dancer, sometimes you see a group of dancers, but some of them are showing us a range of the kinds of regalia that are being used. They provide to us a look at the designs that remain within the textile, and these things have very specific reference back within their cultural practices.
As a Chickasaw, she provides more than just a perspective. She approaches her work with respect for the piece, the artist, and the tribal community.
There are not many of us who are Native Americans serving as curators in non-tribal and non-federal institutions, and so it's incumbent on us to not forget our ties to our community. I feel a great sense of responsibility. I think it's really important for people to understand that one of the unique experiences that comes with being a Chickasaw curator, but any Native American curator, is that we recognize that there's an accountability back to the tribal communities that others who are not necessarily tribally engaged may not feel.
Her latest project has been 3 years in the making. Titled Photosynthesis, Ahtone partnered with Navajo photographer Will Wilson.
He uses a wet plate collodion process to make contemporary portraits. So a lot of people, and I'll have to admit, I didn't know what a wet plate collodion process was, but it is an antiquated photographic system wherein he takes a piece of metal and he pours emulsion over it and exposes it through a lens and takes a portrait that is literally reversed on that tin, and then he processes that tin.
Using that technique, Ahtone and Wilson explored the work of the ethnologist and photographer Edward Curtis from the early 1900s. He traveled the country photographing Native people.
They're beautiful images. Those elders who are photographed in those images just in a way have a beautiful presence for our community. But I really dislike the idea that we would have visually been trapped at that time. Curtis was using a process very similar to Will's, and he was using a 19th century process, which by 1927, film was already becoming standard. So it was curious to me, why would he make these choices to sort of historicize us? And so Will and I decided we wanted to retrace that. We photographed descendants of those communities. Some of them are the actual blood descendants of the people that Curtis photographed, and that was our original intent.
Ahtone made a discovery. Some of Curtis's photographs did not accurately portray the tribes. Ahtone and Wilson made it a priority to do so in their work.
And so we wanted to break down that idea of the historicized present and also to give voice to the tribes and how they wanted to be represented.
Photosynthesis will be on display in January at the museum. Ahtone says her work is fulfilling, especially when she's able to provide a window into Native American art.
What has been written about Native American art, it's really just such a small amount, and that there is this great chasm, as big as the Grand Canyon, of things that are still yet to be written, still yet to be explored. And what I see is that I'm, with every small installation, with every publication, I'm throwing a pebble in that canyon. And it may not be the most important canyon, or it may not be the most important pebble, but it's the small contribution that I can contribute. And hopefully somebody will come along who's smarter and maybe better at whatever I do, and certainly, and continue adding to that. And one day, we will, through the accumulation of all these small contributions, build a bridge where people can engage with Indigenous arts and can have a great appreciation for the richness of the cultures that have survived into what will become the 22nd century one day.
She enjoys her work. A curator wears many hats: researcher, writer, historian, and storyteller.
They make museums interesting to explore. Well, we love this time of year.
The holidays are just around the corner.
Spend some time with family in Chickasaw country and celebrate the holiday season. Several family activities are planned at various venues this month.
Visit chickasaw.net for the latest event information. Join us soon for another episode of CNTV.